Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning. We're going to get started. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Beitelman, I had the dog, but Mrs. Beitelman's going to come up and do our prayer this morning.
Lord, we are here today to conduct matters of business. Lord, we just ask you to guide the hearts of the commissioners and their team and continue to let them have the mind of the spirit of fairness and right thought and speech, and impart your supreme wisdom unto them and all the activities that they are working on today, that they'll come to a successful conclusion. And thank you for being our source of guidance and strength today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Welcome to the April 15th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Tax day today, so if you haven't done your taxes, you need to do that or file an extension. I have the dog. Next year's tax write-off. Come on, baby. Come on. Little cutie. Everybody's going to want to take this one home. Come here. Come on. She's 4 months old. She was found in Lorain on Caroline Avenue. She will be, I didn't ask you when she's going to be available. Friday. Come here. I don't know. I hope Hal can get a picture of the top of her head. She's just got this little circle. So cute. She's so sweet. For a 4-month-old puppy, she's very mellow. Has got a great personality. So if you're interested, come on down to the kennel. We have lots of dogs to pick from. You can check us out on Facebook. And great way to bring a new member of your family. And she makes somebody a great pet. It's pretty. We only have 11 dogs in the kennel today. That's great. Our numbers have been so wonderful.
We go out to numbers just for a second because you brought it up. As recently as 5 years ago, we were euthanizing about 800 to 850 dogs a year, and last year we did 48.
Yep.
So all our partnerships have been working, and while we're not a no-kill facility, because sometimes we have decisions to make that are difficult and challenging but need to be made, we're very close to that. So I'm pretty proud of the work that's going on out there.
And of those, many of those dogs are because they were sick or injured, and the vet's recommendation is to have those dogs euthanized.
Or they're aggressive.
Or aggressive.
We can't reintroduce them because of safety concerns.
Right. So, yeah, we're doing a great job over there. We got great partners, a lot of rescue groups that really help us out. 10 dogs picked up over the weekend, but they were all redeemed by their owners, so that's good too. People are knowing where to go when they lose their dogs. So.
I remember when we first got in office, we had over 1,100 euthanizations. We're down to 48.
Yeah.
Wow.
And remember, while we got the arm reaching along the back, we're also spay and neuter.
Yes.
All of our adoptions now too.
Yep.
Remember the first one we had where it was the certificate? It was only getting like a 30% redemption.
Yeah, it wasn't a big redemption rate. Now your pet has to be picked up from the veterinarian because you pick out the pet you want. Actually it's transported by one of our partners to the vet. It's taken care of there, and then you pick it up from the vet.
It's got almost all its shots. It's almost fully vetted except for rabies, because owners have to do their own rabies. But yeah, you're getting almost a fully vetted dog for next to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So great job to the dog kennel.
That way.
What's that?
Wish you could find a wife that way.
Oh, my goodness.
Good
Just
luck.
kidding.
Whatever.
You want to
I'm not going to tell Wendy what you said.
Do you want to cut that?
Yeah.
No.
Madam Clerk.
We're going to go right into the presentations. First up is Soil and Water. Will Schlechter from Board President and Lawry Babbitt, Secretary.
Morning.
Morning. Got a, the paper with some line items if I can approach it.
Sure, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. Clerk always has to give.
How you
a
doing?
Thank you.
Yep. We're just kind of going to overview this a little bit, and if there's any questions, we'll get my presentations,
Okay.
feel free. New face up here, you probably used to John Moore.
It's all right. Where is John today?
He had a doctor's appointment this morning that
Okay.
he couldn't put on off to the other day.
Okay.
I guess the first thing I want to do is just want to go over our current status, what we got going on in the office. Currently, we have just one full-time employee, which he does the erosion sediment control for the county, does all the unincorporated areas, and he does a very good job at doing that. Then we have two secretaries, and the only reason we have two secretaries is one, they're both retired, and one only wants to work 2 days a week, which she worked in the office before, and she does a fantastic job. If we didn't have her, we'd be hurting pretty good if we had to bring someone new into the office. With the current situation where we're at with the funding, we've made it work. And then our other secretary, she's a retired teacher. We brought her on last fall. She's catching on really good. There's a lot of it's just not secretarial work that they do either. I mean, they're basically running the office, so they got to know more than just how to type a paper and write things. So we're really thankful for the people we have working there. And then we also have two technicians, both also part-time. Each of them works one day. Carl Snyder, he worked for NRCS. He retired from there. He worked 25 years for the federal government. And he's a real asset too. He knows what he's doing. So he's able to compile that into one day. I mean, we're still not doing what we should be in our office, but we're doing as much as we can. And then with the second person, Bob Pandy, he's able to help Carl. We hired him one day a week on an as-needed basis. Well, he's needed every week because there's a need out there for us. So basically, we've made things work with the past funding that we've had. And the board knew that things were kind of going downhill a few years ago, in 08. And we started making cuts early. So we had a little bit of reserve. But our reserve is basically gone now. So with the funding we've had, it hasn't been quite enough, but we've made it work. Right now, we only got about another month, and we're out. So it's important, and I hope you guys see that it's important to fund this, because with the water quality issues out there, we're the forefront. The governor sees that, and there's a lot of money out there through grants and initiatives that we can resource into our county, but we need manpower at our office in order to do that. I don't know if you're interested. Lawry Babbitt, he did a lot of research on what other counties are doing and what they're bringing into their county. Would you be interested in hearing?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Lord, would you mind?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing us to present this. Through Congresswoman Caper, she's heading up a funding project, federal money, which is going to amount to somewhere close to $300 million right now. The funding for Western Reserve Land Conservancy, they got about $1 million. Chagrin Watershed got a couple $100 million. And then Huron County, excuse me, received $700,000, and their commissioners paid $160,000 of that, or to keep the soil and water going. And Erie County got $500,000 from the Great Lakes Initiative, and their commissioners gave the office $100,000. So it's about a 10-to-1 return from the commissioners to what would come back into the county. And that's just the Lake Erie Initiative. And right now, the Black River watershed, there's really nothing going on in it. There's money available, and if we can fund the office and fund a full-time person to work with the Great Lakes Initiative, it would benefit the county, and particularly our port in Lorain, because that has a lot to lose if we don't keep it going. So, thank you.
So I'm sorry, just a quick question if
Yes.
I could. So you're saying that in your conversation with the Congresswoman that there are dollars available that could come to Lorain County?
I did not have that conversation. This is what I looked up online.
Oh.
But what I do know, conversation with Huron County Commissioners and Huron County Soil and Water and Erie County Commissioners Soil and Water, that they are getting a 10-to-1 return. And they've funded projects for all types of, like restoration of the river, the algae bloom, and the other thing that's going on, and I'm sure you're aware of, is Senate Bill 1. And there's nutrient reduction programs that have to be implemented. There's all different types of programs that are going to have to be implemented, and your district soil and water board is going to be in charge of policing that, and that's us. So we want to be there to help you, and we want to be there to protect the county. It's our community. We all live here, so we have all a lot to lose if we don't keep it going.
Yeah, the algae bloom is a big concern. It was a big concern when I was in Columbus. We certainly saw what impact it had on the Western Basin over in Toledo. I mean, when you have folks that literally couldn't even shower, that's pretty alarming. Not only not drink the water, but you can't even shower with it. It's a big concern. But I certainly would be interested in learning a little bit more on what the Congresswoman, may have available, and will, if you can, look at that with Mr. Babbitt here and give us some thoughts, or we can talk directly with the Congresswoman's office as well.
Well, in regards to this, May, just to go back historically, you need this approved by the end of April before May 1, correct? To get your match going?
Yeah, I was going to bring that point up.
We've given you 40,000 is what we had up to before, and didn't we have an additional income farming match of some sort from property out there? Was that with soil and water?
Yeah.
Lisa,
Yes.
how much did that total? Sorry, Lisa.
We give them the revenue from the farmland
Correct.
behind the behind the DD.
I'm trying to see how much money that is, though. Do you
I
know?
think it's about 19,000.
The revenue from the farm is about $18,900 a year.
You were close, Jim. You need to do a better
We also
job.
collect that ESC, the ESC fees that you guys charge.
Correct.
When you guys go out, and that goes into the general fund as well. I don't have a grand total on that.
Do you happen to know those numbers, your total? We're 40K,
Last year
you
was
get
around 8 to
19.
9,000.
I think so.
That's about
That
where
sounds
we were
about
at.
right.
And plus our rent that we return back to you also, which is about 21,000.
Right.
But the 68,000K is what you need towards your match, and brings your matching dollars here.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The whole 68,000, the 40 from the general fund, the almost 19,000 from farming we credit to you, plus you said another 9,000 from
Yes.
ESC, so
Yes.
about 68,000. So you have a budget of about 700 grand then at that point? For use of dollars, 10-to-1 is the number Lawry was using.
Well, no, we need, to get that money, we need someone in our office to be able to write the grants and be able to go after that money. It's not guaranteed money, but we need someone there in order to go after that money. And the money's there. Lawry brought up a good point before, that all these rivers have gotten federal money, but no money has been into the Black River, which is, the main artery through Lorain County. So there's money available for that, and there's farms all
We have
around.
money going into the Black River.
I was going to
We
bring
have-
Don up here, that's what was my next. Thanks, Lisa.
Your turn.
Yeah.
Oh.
Don. No, we brought in significant amount of dollars in regards to the Black River, in regards to invasive species and cleanups, and go ahead, Don, your show.
Lorain County, through the Board of Commissioners, we have brought in the last 3+ years about $2 million towards the elimination of invasive species throughout the Black River AOC and the entire watershed. In addition, we have been working with the City of Lorain, and the City of Lorain has brought in, by now, I'd say it's probably over $10 million to do the fish shelves, the floodplain restorations, remediation of sites behind the steel mill that are actually bringing in improvements to the Black River and its water quality. So, and all of these funds are primarily through the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative and then flow through the federal agencies, either NOAA and or the US EPA. And
we do all the grant writing in-house.
Correct.
So, I mean, it might be if you've got grants and maybe partnering with another department to have somebody do that. You don't need a full-time staff member to do that grant. We've got it done here. I mean, we do it in multiple departments that we can accomplish, and we brought in millions.
Okay. Do you get one-to-one funding from the state to help fund that person that's in the other?
No, that was the Watershed Coordinator Grant. That is actually closed out. We are now using, as part of our grant through GLRI, we have a watershed specialist that's employed full-time and is overseeing and bringing people to work along the river. And that cost is covered, and the GLRIs have been 100% grant with no local match.
And Lynn's here today, so if she would like to speak at all and add to this discussion. Just concerned of duplicating of services, we've got a tight budget. You talk about the money Erie County gives in Huron County. They also have sales taxes that are anywhere from 0.5% to 3/4 more than our money here, and we're running on tight budgets. So that's my concern when you're asking for additional revenues.
Right.
I don't have a problem with reauthorizing the $40,000 and continuing the farm income and your $9,000. When you're talking about getting grant money for your purposes, we have experts in-house who are more than capable of handling that. I'm sure they can fit some additional time. Lynn, you're shaking your head, yes, thank you. That we wouldn't have to add additional general fund dollars. That's my opinion. I mean,
Yeah,
but I think we can get things done for you, that we achieve the same goals, but doing it as cooperative and partnerships, I think we can get farther with our dollars.
I 100% agree with you. We need to form, and I don't think we've had this before. We need to form a good working relationship between us and you and community development,
Right.
and make it work for the whole county.
Right.
I mean, we shouldn't be jawing at each other. We need to work together, and other counties have done that, and in this county may work a little different. They've actually funneled some more of the stuff towards the soil and water, which makes them look. When we go to these meetings with other county soil and waters, you hear the programs that they're doing, and it's just awesome. And then we tell them where we're at, and they're kind of feeling a little bit sorry for us, but just that our county is set up a little bit differently, and we just need to figure out a good working relationship in order to make it work.
Do
for
they
everyone,
have a
I believe.
stormwater district in those other counties? We have a stormwater district here that provides a lot of that work that Soil and Water does in some of those other counties. So I'm not sure that they have a regional stormwater sewer district in those communities. So that may be a reason why there's a lot more going through Soil and Water and less here, because I looked at your list here of the things that additional staff could do, and several of those items are being done through the stormwater district right now. Are you aware of that?
John Bourne sits on the board, so.
Well, he sits on the SWAC, but the stormwater,
SWAC,
that's an
I'm sorry,
advisory
yeah.
committee, but the stormwater district board is different. And, so if you look down that list on the bottom with the drainage issues, logjam issues, ditch
control.
issues, erosion control, we're working on all those issues right now through the stormwater district. It's not that we haven't partnered with Soil and Water, but I'm not so sure that those counties that you mentioned have that stormwater district and are working back and forth. They may be more focused in that one department.
Well,
Not every
Maybe
county has
Soil
it.
and water needs to be more intertwined with our soil water. soil and
Well,
water.
they are. We do the MPDS.
Right.
Right, under the permitting, they provide the district with the erosion and sediment control. That's the plan review where you see the silt fence going up, as well as they work with the county engineer's office closely on post-construction. That's where the detention basins come in to detain the water from our new developments as they come in. And so in those two minimum control measures, to throw a term out, they are actually the lead day to day, administering that piece of it, and then as issues come up, their specialist and I review what's going on, and if we get to a second warning, then we'll begin to let other people know that we may have an issue, so that if we're unable to resolve it, we can go to an enforcement action through the board.
Now, there was a discussion a year or two, maybe 3 when we started. Is there any funding from Stormwater District going to the soil and water for the NPDES environmental?
Go ahead, Don.
I was going to say, what has been going on is all the fees that are charged that had been going to the general fund are now, they still go to the general fund, but then are granted back to soil and water. The one thing John Bourne has taught me is that they need funds to flow through the general fund and to not have a contract.
Correct.
Right.
In order to maximize.
To make the
Right.
maximization of match.
So
That's why I was
correct.
asking the 10 to 1, the $60,000 or $70,000 would then generate, based on your example, Lowry,
Yeah,
would
if I-
generate 700 grand or so.
Right, but if the state match is, typically it's been right around $1 for $1.
Okay.
That's what's guaranteed, is the state match.
Okay.
Everything else is,
Chase the money.
exactly.
Right,
But
exactly.
it's there. It isn't out of reach. It's
Right.
there.
But again, I'm going to take a little exception to they feel sorry for us. I don't think they have to feel sorry for us. We got good programming going here in Lorain County. That statement makes people think that we're not doing some of these things, and we're doing a lot of those things.
Within
And
the organization.
Not us as a county, but just
But it's just not a statement that I like to hear, that they feel sorry for us. It just doesn't make us look good. We have a lot of programming going on right now, a lot of high-level programming, a lot of collaborations. We're also doing now the reporting for the city of Oberlin. We're working with them on their stormwater drainage issue. Oberlin sits right in the middle of all that
Townships.
unincorporated area. They're a prime target for us to be working with. We've just advanced them some more money to continue further on. We're doing a lot of work. Maybe there's more that needs to be done. There's always more that needs to be done.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. And we're just, like I said, we just don't have that working relationship. And if we had that, I may be more knowledgeable of everything that's going on in the community.
Well, I think we can at this point. That's why I'm
Okay.
bringing it up, that we bring it up. And John's been a good partner for
But I
years.
misspoke on what I said.
So, if we can get together with Don, and then through Don's direction with Lynn, if I have that program right where it's supposed to go, I'm sure we can help you with all those grant dollars, because we have people who do this all the time.
Commissioner Kalo,
Yeah.
I want to correct you on one thing. The 10 to 1 is not from the state. This is federal funding that would come in if we can comply. And part of our compliance is we do total nutrient plans, we do conservation plans to assure them that the phosphorus and the sewage runoff from the fields are not getting into the rivers. And that's where the funding comes in on that. I agree with Don. The city of Sandusky gets millions of dollars for their watershed and their bays. The city of Toledo and so forth, they all get millions of dollars like Lorain does. But also their conservation districts are able to get funding back in here to do their job.
On the tributaries.
But what's great is if we all work together, because we'll be stronger.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was bringing up, that we should all work together and go chase those dollars cooperatively.
Yeah, that
I
would be
think we'll
great.
do a better bang than we will just siloing it. You doing your grant writing, us doing our grant writing, when it's doing the same job at the end of the day.
Right.
I think we should work cooperatively, and then we don't need to expend more general fund dollars. Better use the assets that we're already using.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just think we have a different, configuration as to how we're approaching things. The thing is that the left hand doesn't necessarily know what the right hand's doing, so we need to get the left hand and the right hand in the room together so that we can talk about how we're collaborating. Obviously, in government, we need to try to avoid duplicity every chance we've got and be more efficient. So there are things that probably can be done through Don's department that can assist and, help out on the grant side of things. There are things we're doing through stormwater as well. But I would just ask, Don and Will, if you can set up a meeting here soon. And
Yes.
I'd like to attend that meeting if that would be possible, just to learn a little bit more. And so I think we're all on the same page. We all want to work together. It's just a matter of sitting down at the table. And probably one of the first priorities should be trying to identify what kind of funding actually is out there that we could aggressively go after to bring in, whether it's state or federal.
How much are you short on the one-to-one? I know you have a ceiling on your one-to-one funding, and you have to apply for it by May, I believe, right?
Yeah, we need to have funds by April 30th.
Yeah, I May.
And
yeah,
how
I'm
much
sorry,
is
but
that?
How much? We have this conversation every year, but the number's a little changed.
Well, it depends, because every county, every soil and water district, gets an appropriation from their commissioners. And it depends on how much each district gets from the commissioners, and then they figure out, because there's like a pot of money that the state has, and depending on how much money each district got, depends on how much we get. Last year we actually got 40,000 from each of the commissioners, and we got 47,000 from the state. Because at a lower amount, they fund us a little bit more from the state level.
At the 40,000, we brought in some money from the stormwater district last year. Do you remember what it was?
I think last year we were around 15,000, maybe.
Okay. And Lisa, do you remember what we brought in from the general fund?
40,556,000
Is that what our,
that we gave to them.
was that counting the money from the permitting process?
I'm sorry?
No. The permitting process was about another 8,000 or 9,000, correct?
Yes.
Plus the 40,000, correct?
And I misspoke, the 15,000 was 2 years ago. Last year, we did about $1,000 software upgrades.
We have some resources in stormwater. I know that they're pushing timeframes. Can we do some kind of?
Well, what kind of dollars? I was bringing up the stormwater district earlier, so I'm saying, is there any funding available from stormwater district to meet the goals of soil and water?
To at least do the NPDES, right?
Well, they're already getting the funding for the NPDES vis-a-vis the fees, and we're going to revisit those fees this year regardless, so there may be some more revenue. But there is things that come together very nicely that they do that we need to do, especially non-specific point runoff and things like that. So,
well, I'll tell you what, not to hold you guys up anymore, how about if you get us those numbers for next week? We have next week, we have 2 more weeks to approve your money, so if you get us the dollars that would show out of stormwater district, they could be.
well, Ted, it's discretionary. I mean, we could.
I think you were going to use it based on performance
Yeah,
and partners. We
I've got-
already do.
The
That's what I'm
partnership's
saying.
there, but I mean, we have full discretion on that stormwater funds. Almost everything they do can be contributed to what's the work of the district would be.
Correct.
So, I don't see any problem with the district funding them. If the general fund funds them a portion, the district funds them a portion. I don't see any challenges there whatsoever.
If I may, in the budget that was approved, 25,000 was set aside to be able to work with community groups, which soil and water would well fit
Definitely
into.
qualify.
The one thing we were very worried about, and I'm going to be very candid about this with the stormwater district, is that we didn't adopt agencies, because under the stormwater district, so that we were funding them in perpetuity from the district. But we haven't funded them for a while, and they've been good partners, and it may be, an option. You can do the general fund piece here, and we can administratively do the stormwater district piece. And we're going to be meeting soon, and we can clarify that later on.
Well, the thinking being it's got to be an appropriation prior to May 1.
Not from the district. The district.
It won't count for their money if they don't
have
have
to
the
have a match.
appropriation.
We can take care of the district movement of funds. That's not a problem.
Does the district have to send it to the general fund to be an appropriation going back to them to have their match money from the state is what
It
I'm asking?
doesn't have to be from the general fund. It could be from the stormwater district. It just doesn't.
No, he
There's gotta
said,
be
he had said that before.
appropriation from
The general
Only the
fund.
general fund?
Only the
Yes.
general fund.
Yeah.
They
That's where they had
made
to
the
be bound-
rules a lot stricter from the
That's-
state level a couple of years
Yeah,
ago.
other counties had to go to actually a levy purposes for funding
Wow.
soil and water. They actually passed levies in the rural communities to make sure there was enough money that the general fund was in charge of to make match. So if you're saying, are you saying a $15,000 would be a legitimate expenditure from stormwater
Sure.
for soil and water? So if we took our 40, advanced 15,000 from our general fund, with stormwater to pay us back,
Right.
the 19,000 in, would basically be around an $83,000 local match with all those dollars added up.
That'd be great.
I know we can't do it
Well-
out of general fund, and I would have an issue doing it out of general fund.
I'm a little bit confused on the math myself, Commissioner.
Fuzzy
40,000
numbers.
from the general fund.
Yeah.
We pay them the 19,000 in the farming revenue, correct, makes 59. We don't?
The farming revenue is part of that 40,000.
Right.
Oh, I didn't realize
where,
that.
you know,
Oh, I thought it was an additional two, that's why I said it
That
twice,
40,000
You got a
60,000.
little too much carpet on the floor here.
Not at all. No, I'm taking the
Lisa,
numbers
you
I was
can't
given.
speak from the chair there, you know that. No, you cannot.
The 40,000 included the 19,000
Okay, all right,
revenue from the farming.
That's what I
okay?
thought I asked.
And the year before that, it was the farming plus a stipend from the stormwater district. So if you did 40,
Mhm.
the 19's already in there. Out of the 40, we would do
15.
15 from the district. That would leave 25 to the general fund. That leaves them with a net result of 40.
And then the rent back, too.
And then we get the rent back if you want to do some forgiveness on that. I don't know if you did that last year or not.
No, we didn't do forgiveness.
So I would caution, not that I don't want to support you guys, but I would caution that, we're facing some serious
I know.
issues coming up, so that, I get a little twitchy at $80-something thousand.
Well, I didn't have a problem with the 40,000. If it includes the 19, that's fine. They get 6 in fees, but if we gave them an additional set aside of 15,000 that came from
From stormwater.
stormwater district, would bump them to the 40 already with the farming income.
Because we have a very challenging year.
I know we do.
You want to go
I'm-
25, you want to go 25 from the stormwater district? We can do a big year, and that'll take some of the burden off of the general fund.
So do 25K from the general fund, 25K from stormwater, and then the 9,000 in fees that they get also counts as an appropriation?
That would count from the general fund. Yes. The answer is yes. I don't know if the number's 9,000.
Approximately, whatever the number is
Right.
from fees.
But you're going to do this with the current staffing that you have.
Yeah, I
that's a-
misunderstood.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
thought
we're
the
gonna-
19 was
we're
on
gonna
top
have
of the
to.
40.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one thing I'm really worried about too is, as I said before, most of our staff is retired, and at some point, they're really gonna wanna retire. And at that point, we're gonna have to decide there what to do, but maybe, if we can get through another year, and we can collaborate a little bit and get things figured out, maybe we'll see you guys do, that other, parts of the county do things better than we do, and maybe we'll find that we do some things better, and then maybe we can get the funding, where it needs to be in order to do a collaborative,
But I might mention also, part of our expenses is, our full-time type chip. We pay him $40,000 a year, and then by the time you consider his expenses, it's another $25,000 to $30,000. And that's just for full-time county employee, soil erosion. He has no part of doing nutrient plans, he can't, he's not qualified to do nutrient conservation plans and things of that nature, which allows you to go get the bigger dollar into the federal funding. So, but again, let's have that meeting.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, work it out, and see where we go together.
Yeah, I agree, but we need to solve this funding issue here,
Right.
because to put the mechanics in place, we only have one more meeting.
Right.
So, Commissioner, I'd be comfortable with the 25,000 from the stormwater district, if you guys are comfortable with that.
And then 25,000 from our general fund.
I think it'll show some real support, but at least it takes some of the burden off of
The
general
GF,
fund.
yeah, that's my concern going forward.
Commissioner Lundy, you?
Sure.
So I just want to make sure the appropriation is correct.
It'll be about $59,000,
Thank you. Just want to make sure the fees go as part of the appropriation.
yes. It's just not a lot more money right now.
Right.
And we're going to be working on the stormwater district fees in a couple of weeks.
Right.
This should be part of the overarching discussion.
Maybe
about
that
how
might
we-
be something in the future that we want to consider. We'll match the stormwater district for soil and water in the future. Whatever they give, we give,
I
maybe
think we need to be
possibly.
progressive in those conversations, Commissioner. And I want to say, I was a little concerned about the dialogue, but Soil and Water has been good partners with
Right.
us. And John Bourne has been a great guy to work with, and he is on the SWAC. It's just that right now we're wringing that chamois, and it's coming up dry in a lot of places. So that's some of the resistance.
I understand that.
But a meeting is definitely overdue,
Yeah.
so.
Great.
Commissioner, would you like to make?
Well, we'll put the mechanics in for your board consideration.
You want to do it for next week?
Yeah, we'll put all
Okay.
the appropriations and everything through next week. Lisa will get that over to you, but now that the decision made, we can do all the administrative follow-up. You'll do the vote next week when you have the
Okay, we
paperwork in
don't
front
need
of you.
today, all right.
Do we need to come next week, or?
Nah.
No, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have another presentation.
Yep.
Don Romancak. You didn't even have to sit down, did you?
So I need more dead trees.
Okay. Thank you, Board. Today, we were fortunate enough to be able to have from Ohio EPA Twinsburg, the representative from Ohio EPA to the Black River RAP, Mr. Ted Conlin. He's put together a brief presentation to go over the brief history of the Black River area of concern, which actually has made us able to receive some Great Lakes Restoration Initiative funding, as well as be able to kind of go over where the U.S. EPA has been pushing towards these area of concerned rivers to be delisted. And so we're looking at this point removing a couple, the east and west branch, and that's coming from on high from U.S. EPA as a recommendation. And Ted and the Black River RAP have been wrestling with how to do it and what are the advantages and disadvantages to that.
Don spoke to me over the last couple of weeks about this, and there's pros and cons on both sides of that issue, and,
Yes.
and felt that a presentation really needed to be made here, and try to wrap our arms around what you actually think is best for Lorain County. So why don't we go into the presentation, and
Okay.
then I'm sure we're going to have some extensive dialogue right
Yep.
after.
Okay, Ted, if you can go.
Good
Thank
morning.
you.
Good morning.
AOCs, when they were designated by the International Joint Commission and the US EPA, they were supposed to be areas that were the worst of the worst. By far, there was only 42 of them in the Great Lakes, so they were the worst of the
Can I
worst.
ask you a second? Tell the public what an AOC is.
Oh, I'm sorry. AOC is an area of concern. It's an area of severe environmental degradation that was felt to cause impacts to the Great Lakes, and in our case, Lake Erie, all right? So that's what area of concern AOC is. At first, there was only 42 of these in the Great Lakes, so they definitely were the worst of the worst. The 43rd one came in, essentially Presque Isle lobbied to be added. They were one of the first ones to be removed. They only had a couple problems, and it was quickly taken care of. In time, it was quickly taken care of. For the Black River, only the lower 6 miles of the Black River was originally designated. In the formation of the AOC committee, the local AOC committee, they determined that problems from the upstream areas, essentially from the east and west branches, were causing problems in the lower main stem. So they enlarged the area of concern to include the entire Black River watershed. Now, whether the entire Black River watershed is worst of the worst in the Great Lakes is probably pretty debatable. For land use, as you can see here, the tan colors are mostly agricultural land. I put a circle around essentially where the Black River is on the larger map, and you can see around the western part of Lake Erie, it's a lot of agricultural land. The upstream areas of the Black River is a lot of agricultural land. It's definitely not unique. It's not worst of the worst. It's just what it is in this area of the country. The current and proposed delineations for the AOC, for the area of concern, up until recently, it was the entire watershed of the Black River. Right now, it's been proposed, and the AOC committee has voted to include to have the area of concern only include The main stem from the confluence at Cascade Park, confluence of the two branches, the east, or the French Creek watershed, the drainage areas to the main stem, called Huck units, not just the main stem course itself, but the area that drains to the main stem, and the two Lake Erie beaches.
Can you give, just for a reference point, because these drawings are small, the entire watershed, how far south it goes?
The entire watershed is 460 square miles, goes down essentially to Medina County, part of Medina County, down by Lodi, all right, and all the way up to the mouth at Lorain.
Sometimes the public has a hard time, grasping some of those when we're giving presentations, so thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. 467 square miles is essentially the watershed.
And they want to reduce it to how many square miles?
That I didn't calculate, I apologize.
Okay, that's okay, but it's probably about a third of that?
Maybe even less than that.
Okay, great, thanks.
When area of concerns were designated and committees were formed, they were asked to restore of any of up to 14 beneficial use impairments, or what we call BUIs, all right? In the Black River AOC, as a watershed, there were 9 of them. These are the 9. In the newly aligned AOC for the Black River, that number's not going to change. We still have problems, but it's not going to change. It's just the geographic scope of the AOC is what will change. The advantages and disadvantages of resizing the area of concern to the smaller size is both funding and the ability to delist the AOC. Both sides of the coin. There's advantages and disadvantages to it. The major funding sources are Section 319 grants. Section 319 is Section 319 of the Clean Water Act, and essentially it is non-point source funding. Additional merit is given if you have a watershed action plan, which the Black River does. Additional merit is given if the watershed is a TMDL, total maximum daily load watershed, which the Black River is.
Can you explain total maximum daily load, please?
Essentially, the stream is able to assimilate any of a number of pollutants, but just to pick one pollutant, it's able to assimilate and still be healthy. Once you get to a certain level, then the stream is going to be degraded. So they just determine what is that level that the stream is able to assimilate and still be healthy. So if you are above that level, how much of that has to be removed to get the stream back to a healthy system? All right, that's a really layman's term.
Well, it's a good explanation, though.
Okay.
Again, people don't, we use all this jargon, and a lot of people don't know what it means,
Yeah.
so thank you.
The other fund, which has been spoken here earlier, was the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative. Great Lakes Restoration Initiative is something that came out in the recent years. Some of the money goes to area of concerns, some of the money goes to watersheds around the Great Lakes, not necessarily area of concerns, all right? For area of concern money under the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, the US EPA and their Great Lakes office, called the Great Lakes National Program Office out of Chicago, is requiring that any grant that is applied for Great Lakes Restoration Initiative in an AOC, in an area of concern, needs to show that it is going to remove one of the beneficial use impairments. The problem with the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative money now, no one thinks it's going to last long. It has been dropping money-wise, and it's been varying money-wise weekly. Last week, they lost $50 million out of what they thought they were going to get. They're hoping to get it back once Congress talks about it, but we got to work on the assumption that it's $50 million lower than they originally thought. Ability to delist an area of concern, both sides of the coin. It's always tied to the funding, but the funding is going to be more directed to area of concern that can prove the projects that they want will remove beneficial use impairments. Now, the beneficial use impairments in the Black River AOC, there are 9 of them, all right? and will remain to have 9 of them. Improvements have been seen across the upper watersheds. The biological numbers that my agency does, they've seen improvements. Fish habitat, fish communities, benthic communities, all that stuff. Benthic is the bottom-dwelling insects, bugs on the river bottoms. Those numbers have all been improving. If 30 years ago, 25 years ago, it was debatable whether the upper watersheds were impacting the lower main stem, it's really debatable now from the numbers that we've seen. All right. Also, improvements to treatment plants, removing phosphorus have improved conditions. Work done by the stormwater people and the soil and water people have improved things around the upper watersheds. Now, this is the list of the beneficial use impairments that I showed you earlier. The first upper basins, that's essentially where we're looking right now. Now, back 25, 30 years ago when they started this process, they said all this was impaired. And as I said, that could be debated. But right now, fish consumption essentially can be said is restored. Fish populations and other ones, benthos, fish habitat, that's all improving. We're at 80, 90, 95, 98% of what's necessary to remove those as a beneficial use impairment in the upper watersheds. Now the proposed, the far right column, that is the new delineation. And you can see there's still a lot of impaired left in there. So
That would be on the reduced,
yes, that is the reduced, the smaller area of concern.
on the upper basin, can you give us a little information on why the recreational use is impaired?
Many different things, runoff from agricultural, livestock areas, home sewage treatment systems, geese, gulls, a lot of different things.
Okay.
You know, interestingly, for the bacterial, for the recreation use, that's pretty much determined by the bacteria. The upper basins, remember, AOCs are supposed to be the worst of the worst. For agricultural areas around the Great Lakes, the West Branch bacteria average is below the average for all streams flowing from Ohio into Lake Erie. Non-AOC Huron River has higher numbers than the Black River's East Branch or the Black River's West Branch. I'm the coordinator for the Black River area of concern. I'm also the coordinator for the Ashtabula area of concern. I've only assumed that position within the last 5 or 6 years. They never designated the Ashtabula River as impaired for recreational use. The worst river flowing into Lake Erie for bacteria contamination is the Ashtabula, and they don't list it as impaired.
Great, good information.
I don't know why, but that's true. All right. So as you can see, if it was debatable then that the upper basins of the East Branch and West Branch were the worst of the worst and should be included, you can see this middle column that a lot of improvements have been happening and we are nearing restoration of. But because the money is going to dry up, and this is one of the points with it, the Black River is called a near-term AOC, near-end AOC by US EPA now. They're willing to throw a pot of gold at us to get rid of BUIs. To try to get rid of BUIs, beneficial use impairments, in the upper watershed of 467 square miles, we would have to prove that any project is going to remove a BUI. Practically impossible. Because if we fix one stream here, we have another stream over here that has identical or similar problem that we would have to apply a different application, put a different application in for. Since the money's going to dry up, the impacts are lessening in the upper basins. That's why the Black River Area of Concern Committee decided to go with a smaller watershed or smaller area of concern and to resize this thing. So that's what Dawn asked me to give you the pros and cons of this. They did vote for this in the last meeting, but I have not finished up all the paperwork necessary to get this application into the US EPA. So this is my contact information, so.
Yeah, last time I checked, if I recall, I think the Speaker of the House is an Ohio congressman. Have we had any conversations with Speaker Boehner's office about concerns about the funding and the drop-off and the funding having a major impact on a freshwater source on the shores of Ohio?
Commissioner, I am a state employee, and I am not allowed to talk to them about financial matters like that. That would be the local committee that would have to be able to do that.
So, the way I understood this, when Don brought it to my attention a couple weeks ago, was that if we redesignate to a smaller area of concern, they will pour money into that area of concern to lift.
To get over the hump and remove it.
Right. And if we don't, we're not going to be able to meet the criteria on the upper branch with regard to having to remove IOUs?
The upper branches, the east and west branch, are still considered to be impaired for many of those beneficial use impairments, right? But they're this close. Essentially, they're so close, they're not the worst of the worst anymore. So this is a way of getting them off of the books of the AOC and work on the real problem, which was the original problem.
And then what Don said is that would bring us additional funding for the I'm going to call it the lower basin.
Okay, all right.
Lower basin, but that would leave us with no funding for the upper basin for any additional work.
That would leave you with no ability for funding that would come for only area of concern money.
Okay.
You still would have the 319 availability. You would still have other funding availabilities. And you would get merit for being a TMDL watershed, being a watershed action plan watershed. You're just not getting the bonus points for being an AOC.
How much work or dollars need to be expended to handle the part we're talking about delisting, the east and the west?
It is really hard to put a number on. I mean, it would be, depending upon when the EPA tested, we could have certain summers where we might hit all the criteria because the weather conditions are favorable.
Mm-hmm.
And other years it would be awful, and we'd be looking at having to do upgrades to wastewater treatment plants, package plants, complete removal and upgrades of septic systems.
And just for habitat, just for fish water habitat.
Mm-hmm.
City of Lorain and the AOC committee several years ago developed a habitat restoration master plan to do everything in that master plan to restore just that lower part of the river, which I think was 6 miles, was like $60 or $72 million. Wow. So now you're talking about a watershed 467 square miles, and like I said, you fix something over on the east branch, and you have a similar problem on the west branch, and you have a similar problem down on the east fork of the east branch, or the west fork of the east branch, or Charlemont, or Plum, or Wellington.
So what is your recommendation?
Well, the recommendation was to remove the upper branch.
Right. So we can pour more money into the lower
We could
branch.
concentrate, bring up the numbers, ideally have it ready to qualify for, and Ted cringes because I kind of confuse the terms on occasion, but let's see if I can get this right, that in this case we would be pursuing a delisting that ultimately would be determined by EPA, and we'd concentrate our resources to be able to do that. And actually we would be one of the first rivers then out of the 43 area of concerns as it ended up, and at one time we were well known for the fish tumors, and we have made great strides there. And it was only recently that technically you were allowed to come in contact with the water of the Black River, and that advisory had been lifted. So it's important that we do this as we continue to develop Lorain County as a destination. It's important to be able to touch the water.
Now, as an AOC, the Black River was a leader in the state of Ohio. We were the first to show any definite improvement in the AOC process when we moved the beneficial use impairment of fish tumors from impaired to in recovery phase. Then a couple years later, we were the first one to remove a beneficial use impairment of any kind when we restored the benthic, or the bottom dwelling bug system. That beneficial use improvement in the 160 square mile East Branch, the entire East Branch of the Black River. Right? So the Black River Committee, the stakeholders, everybody working together, has been a leader in this. We
Good
just,
work. Yeah.
it's just, it's too big a pie to eat right now, being 467 square miles. I mean, the Ashtabula is 2 miles long.
So recommendation would be, come back with a resolution for us to delist.
To remove from the AOC?
A resolution from this, I am not asking for a resolution
Right.
from the commissioners, all right? This is something that the AOC committee and the Ohio EPA, who oversees the AOC process in Ohio, will be handling. Dawn just asked me to present to you the pros and cons of what's going on here, just so that you knew.
So we have no say in the matter?
Well, I withheld my vote until I got direction from the board and made sure that the board was fully aware of what was going on, because this is a big deal. It impacts much of the county,
I
and
think it's important that the commissioners support a decision of the AOC committee. While we don't, as we talked earlier, we don't want to end up in a dysfunctional relationship with the AOC committee because you feel differently. So it was important, since you represent the whole area of the Black River watershed, that you're agreeable to what the AOC wants to do. Because clearly, if you weren't, you could challenge that decision.
and I've got no problem doing that either. But, I mean, my own recommendation would be, from the evidence that's been presented from the history of the project, where we started at 6 miles and then expanded, and now it looks like we're going, the recommendation coming from the US EPA would be that the original looks to be a little more correct, and we have made great progress in the upper branches without much money going in as far as through GLRI. Even the money we've gotten for the first couple of years, we focused on that lower 6 mile main stem, working on the invasive species. We're just getting ready to go out throughout the county and begin to take care of it elsewhere.
Nice presentation.
A lot of good information.
Don said you weren't much of a speaker according to yourself, but I thought it was very
Made a
informative.
nice job.
I'm sorry about the alphabet soup, though.
That's okay. We're used to that.
So I understand the board's favorable. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Okay, we're going to move into our regular agenda items.
Under Resolutions Number 1, Investments,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Appropriations,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Transfers,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Advances and repayments,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Requisitions,
So moved.
Second.
Discussion,
Yes, I have concerns about item 619. I just wanted to see if we could wait on that for another week and explore that further.
Okay.
I'd ask that we withhold that one.
We could do that.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Travel,
Second.
So-
I'm sorry.
So moved. Hold
Jumped the
on.
gun. Second.
Don't get excited now.
I'm sorry.
You going somewhere?
I only have one responsibility. It's a second, and I can't get that right either. I don't know.
discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Bills,
So moved.
Second.
discussion, Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy,
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorain County Commissioners.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. I do have a few potential hires: Golden Acres, Community Development. Also, probably need to update you on potential sale and purchase of real estate and ongoing litigation. 3 topics are allowable under the Sunshine Act for executive session discussion, so to ask at the conclusion of our regular board meeting, we go into executive session and discuss those 3 items that I've outlined. Thank you.
Under Community Development, approve the semi-annual revolving loan fund report for July 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2014, estimated by Community Development.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Enter in a revolving loan fund administration agreement with State of Ohio Department of Development for the term effective retroactive January 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Job and Family, I advertise requests for CO bids for non-emergency medical transportation. Notice to be in the Chronicle on April 20th and 27th, and open at 2 p.m. on May 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the engineer award contract for Breezy Trucking and Paving, Inc., Valley City, in the amount of $2,133,732 for the Redford Road Forest Main Sewer Improvement Number 122, Columbia Township. 4 bids were received on April 7th, this being the most responsive, complying with specifications. Issue notice to proceed on or before May 11th and complete on or before November 11th. Authorize administrator to notify the auditor to release retainage at the completion of the project and will be paid from the Redford Capital Improvements account.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Cortez, you want to update us? Long time in process.
It's been a lot longer than I thought it was going to
Yeah.
be, but the project grew. There was some additional needs. I want to thank Bob Kleiber for all his hard work on this, and some folks out at the sanitary engineer, especially Jerry Ennis, who seems to run into interference all the time with various elements of friction. I'm just glad we're putting the sewer in. It's going to be a nice project up in Columbia Township. I will suggest that as things are growing, Columbia Township is becoming more and more of a premier area for development. This is probably the beginning of a development spurt that's going to take off over the next 3 to 5 years in that area of Columbia Township. So the Redford Sewer is going to pave the way. There's still a few unhappy landowners out there. We're going to have conversations with them. But we're also engaged in conversation with Strongsville concerning State Route 82. We're going to be talking Northeast Ohio Regional concerning Sprague Road. So we're going to be working also with Columbia Township. They need to update their land use plan, and we've had conversation with them. You don't maintain your community by preventing development. You maintain your community by good land use management. The relationships are progressing nicely over there. So I think we need to move ahead with this. We'll be doing the financing. We'll be recapturing it through assessments. We have a tap-in split with the developers, so they recover some of their cost of assessing all of this to the land. And it'll give us some potential down in Redford Road that we don't have right now.
Great.
Good.
Nice to see it done.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Approve amendment number 7, SW07 to Resolution 13-1000 with K.E. McCartney and Associates to include the Redfern Farms dry sewer system analysis in the amount of $19,600.
I do wish to comment on this. Before we get all kinds of calls, we're not doing anything down in Redford Farm subdivision other than looking at the dry sewer that's already in the ground. We need to get some cameras in there. We need to take a look at what's there, what's been put in the ground. It's been in the ground for some time now, but as we indicated to letters of concern about several months ago, our intention eventually would be to have that dry sewer tap into the Redford Farms, the Redford Road sewer. There's about 72 homes back there. The dry sewer was put in place just for the availability of sewer on Redford Road. So we've at the district cost have extended the sewer to end right where the manhole cover is for that dry sewer, so that in the future we can connect those two. But there's still a lot of unknowns on that dry sewer that need to be explored. We want to do that work now. Work that we have on the shelf for a little while until the sewer's done. But it's a good time to be doing it with the weather break.
So we're going to be cameraing it and smoke testing and.
I don't know about the smoke testing. I don't know that there's laterals from the home to the sewers right now. If there are, we'll do smoke testing. If there's not, then the smoke testing element of this contract won't be exercised.
Okay.
We're not really sure whether there's laterals.
We don't know what's there.
The laterals may only be stubbed to the right-of-way, or they may have been taken back to the homes. My guess is they're stubbed to the right-of-way, since they had to put an on-site system in and wait for the eventuality of sewers on Redford Road. But I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have to come back and remodify the contract again.
Okay. So moved?
Second.
Anything further? Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundey?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez?
I have no further comments. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis?
I have one issue of imminent litigation to discuss in executive session.
Commissioners report.
It's been a pretty busy week. After last week's meeting, I went up to the 5th floor to the solid waste, judged the contest entries for the solid waste calendar that's going to be for next year. As usual, we had a lot of talent, a lot of kids from kindergarten all the way through high school that submitted entries, and it was very tough to decide who was actually going to win those for each month of the calendar and the cover. We also got a letter from Keith Bailey, as our director of solid waste, and Brandy Schnell, the one that I actually did the coloring the contest with, was received by the school. She had gone out to Avon East, and she does the educational component for solid waste. And I just want to say, the teacher had wrote, "We love when Brandy comes to visit. She has outstanding classroom control, and she is very positive about redirecting the children. The students loved the hands-on activities and made the comments like, 'This is fun, and I'm so excited.' She is prompt with communication, and she is an asset to the solid waste management district." So I just wanted to commend Brandy. She just came back from having a baby, and she hit the ground running, and she's really great to work with, and obviously the students love her. Mr. Cortez and I attended the second of the Vision 2.0 at the college. A lot of refresh, yeah, restart, reboot, refresh, yeah. So we have one more of those to go, and then we'll be completed, right?
Well, we have one more meeting in May, and then we have the big grand finale, I think,
With
in
all of our
October.
input and ideas, all comes together then?
I like the clickers. I think the commissioners should get clickers, and then you can just click up here what your position
Yes or no? Then we all, Commissioner Kalo and I attended the Team Lorain County Board meeting yesterday morning. Usually we have it at 7:30 in the morning on board meeting day, but it had to go a little longer, so we had it on Tuesday. I also attended a meeting with the CEO of Goodwill. Her name was Michelle, and her last name is escaping me right now, but she's doing a reentry coalition for people. It's actually a statewide grant, and she's actually going to be going and working with our county jail.
Wasn't there a gentleman that was the CEO?
There was, and I don't know whatever happened to him, but
He wasn't there very long, was he?
No, I don't know what happened to him.
Because I only met with him like, 6, 7 months ago when we started working on that collaboration with the room here for the training.
Right. I'm not sure what happened to him, but she's really involved. She's working with Grafton. She's working with cities, all the jails and prisons in Ohio. She's trying to get into all those to get a reentry plan in place for people who are leaving the jails and prisons. So, of course, she is looking for money for a matching grant coming up, and I invited her to attend our community corrections meeting, which is going to be next week, and Judge Moraldi said that she could attend that, so hopefully we'll get some more interest and at least letters of support. I might be asking the board for a letter of support for her, I mean, even if we can't fund anything.
Commissioner, there's a direct correlation in communities to the lowering of recidivism.
Absolutely.
With those communities that have reentry support mechanisms and tools and services in place. And this has been an on-again, off-again thing in Lorain County for about a decade. It just doesn't seem to get the right kind of traction.
It's not getting the traction, right. So hopefully she's really good. I was very impressed with her. I spent like an hour with them yesterday, and looking forward to seeing her again at our community correction board meeting, and we'll go from there. So, end of my report.
Yeah, busy week. Friday, we had our monthly NOACA meetings. The policy committee I serve on met. Discussion in regards to using toll credits and discussion with ODOT and funding of projects and municipalities who are taking care of their roadways ahead of time getting additional credits versus not having as much local match based on low to moderate income, fiscal need, emergency, the entire gamut. So it was a nice discussion. Again, Team Lorain County, nice job. Dawn Calvert on her presentation. I had to leave though because we had Solid Waste Policy Committee I serve on. So just an update on what we're doing in regards to the plan. Met with Mayor Rittenauer. After the meeting, I believe Jim met with them also, just because with the plan coming out, City of Lorain, largest municipality, they have veto power over, so just discussions on what was going on in the plan. Also, the Board of Commissioners received from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or as we finally call it, FERC, in regards to the Nexus gas transmission line. They have sent out information, and they will be having public meetings, but they're asking for specific comments for, against, or any measures that might avoid some environmental impacts. They are having public meetings. I'll give this to Hal to post, but starting Tuesday, April 28th at 6 p.m. at Midview Middle School in Grafton, Wednesday, April 29th at Wadsworth High School in Wadsworth, and then Louisville, Ohio, Tecumseh, Michigan, Swanton, Ohio, and Fremont, Ohio. But they need the comments in by May 22nd. If you go to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, and again, the number is docket number PF Paul Fred 15-10-000, and again, PF Paul Fred 15-11-000. You'll be able to make comments, and again, we'll get this posted on our show here and maybe our website also for our residents.
And that's with the current route that they've had in place?
Correct.
Okay.
And they're also asking any reasonable alternatives. There's a whole opportunity for the public, so maybe we can get this to Mrs. Ferguson, who's been calling also. So, end of my report.
Mr. Lundy?
Yes, the FERC response, we probably as a board should consider what type of letter we'll be eventually sending there. I know I've had several emails that have come in asking about supporting the reroute, and as we pointed out at previous meetings, when you reroute, you end up on somebody else's property. And of course, we got one of those phone calls this week. I know all three of us have responded to that individual who has property down there near Wellington, and so while we may avoid a lot of properties through a reroute, we're still going to pass somebody's property on the reroute, and that's something we have to continue to be sensitive to. But I would certainly ask that we as a board, I guess, make some determination. And we've talked about, at least sending a letter to FERC of some sort indicating our concern about, number one, safety and impact, and the impact it will have on that area. So, but we've got some time to still work on that. I would also like to commend our dispatchers. I understand it's National Dispatcher Week.
It is.
So, and as somebody who used to work as a reporter and used to listen to a lot of 911 tapes, and we see it on the TV shows all the time because most of us aren't in the dispatch room when those emergencies are being handled. These folks do amazing work, and I think we all like to think that we're calm and cool under pressure, but wow, when all heck is breaking loose, these folks just really keep their composure, do an amazing job, and certainly make the community a lot safer. Had the opportunity to run over to Midway Mall on Saturday. They had their dog rescue event over there, and just thousands of people over there is what I'm told. The parking lot was packed, and it was good to see so many people at the mall. I hope a lot of folks did some shopping while they were there, taking advantage of our very low sales tax rate that we have in this county. And folks in Cuyahoga County need to come over here and shop and save lots of money. So also had the opportunity to speak to a marketing group at Leadership Lorain County at noon on Monday. I want to thank everyone for that opportunity. That was a lot of fun. I'm sure they could have done it with a much better speaker than myself, but just explaining about my background in that area. Also had the opportunity to meet with Rita Campbell, the Office on Aging, to get an education over there, and those folks are doing tremendous work for our seniors, and they just put out a yearly report, and I mentioned that in that monthly column that I do in the newspapers, and a lot of great resources for seniors. The frustrating part for them is that so many seniors just simply don't want to take advantage of the services that are available, and we talk about the older generation really doesn't like to ask for help, and that's been a big difference, I think, in following generations. But those are services that basically you've paid for through your tax dollars all these years. So if you need help, please reach out to the Office on Aging. They want to help you out. I ran over the Board of Elections, voted early yesterday. It is so easy to vote in this state. There's no reason for folks not to get out, so please, I would encourage you to get out early, vote. Your vote is obviously your voice. And last night had the opportunity to attend the drug forum that was held at Clearview High School, and heard many alarming stories there. It's quite a concern. 1 in 36 individuals here in this county alone will probably have some type of opiate addiction. Every 15 minutes somebody's overdosing in this state. We have a very serious issue. If you think that this addiction issue has a face, it doesn't. Pretty much, I would hear all kinds of stories by grandparents and parents who all talked about having this great kid, this great granddaughter, and all of a sudden they got in with the wrong crowd. They started using. Now they're stealing things out of the home and all kinds of issues. So it's something that we as a community need to continue to be aware of. And the message they were getting out to the students last night is that don't be concerned about being a snitch. If somebody's using or somebody's involved, you've got to let people know that right away so that person can get some help and hopefully save their life. So that concludes my report.
Okay.
Board correspondence?
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo?
Aye.
Public comment?
Public comment. You've waited so long. Come on up. I hear we have good news coming, so I'm glad. We need some good news.
It's fun news.
Good.
I brought
It's
some
always
friends.
good news when people are carrying guns.
Yes, I brought friends with me. It's not backup, it's friends.
Good,
I didn't
good,
have
good.
to bring backup with me. I'm Heather Fralick from Visit Lorain County, and I did bring a few friends with me today. Lieutenant Scully from the Oberlin PD is hiding in the back. And this is Ranger Thumling from Findlay State Park. And we're here to announce a homegrown event that we're going to be doing this year at Findlay State Park. And it's called the Safety Forces Endurance Challenge. And again, we're doing it ourselves. We're digging in. Lieutenant Scully came to me a few months ago and said he wanted to do something to give back to our community, as well as bring dollars into Lorain County. So we're kicking off the Safety Forces Endurance Challenge, and we're opening it up to the state of Ohio. We're going to target from Columbus up, and it's going to be, a highly competitive obstacle race, and it's team-oriented, and it's open to police, fire, EMS, rangers. Ohio Division of Watercraft is excited, as Ranger Thumling told me this morning. So
Lorain County administrators?
hey, we're inviting you guys to be involved in any way you see fit. So if you want to,
an obstacle they go over.
it really came about as a way. Lieutenant Scally had said that really how they always end up getting together. It's always in the face of tragedy. They see each other at funerals, they see each other at a hospital bedside, and this is really a good way for them to build that camaraderie together at a good event, at a feel-good event. So we're really excited to be a part of that, and we're really excited to showcase Findlay State Park. It's one of our most beautiful assets, because there's so many in Lorain County. So we're really excited to step into the southern part of the county and showcase that asset. Did you want to say a few words about Findlay State Park and all the different facilities that we'll be utilizing there?
Yeah, Findlay State Park, it's in the southern part of Lorain County, roughly 950 acres. We have the lake campground that holds about 250 people, rented over 5,000 campsites last year, about 15,000 visitors to the camp, a 9-mile mountain bike trail, which gets a lot of use as well. And we're just excited that to to be hosting such a great event.
Good.
Findlay State Park's a great place. It's, hopefully Odino is going to bring us out some more money so we get, a few more services out there, but, the dam itself is really nice out there, and I spent a lot of seasons with my kids out there. What can we do to help with the event?
We're just in the early planning stages, so we're just getting ready to put together a logo and things. And to give you some more information, the proceeds, we will be benefiting St. Jude Children's Hospital, and locally we'll be supporting Lorain County Blue Foundation. Andy from Local Blue was going to be here today, but something got in the way, so he wasn't able to be here. They are not just going to be recipient of the funds, they're going to be working right alongside us, so they're really excited to be a part of this event. So
Chris Barton does a great job with Lorain County Blue. I remember when he kicked that off, and Pete Soto is a longtime friend of mine, so I've always supported those events,
great,
personally and professionally.
We can do the water and stuff like that, like we did for the other event, if you want. So
it's like Tough Mudders for officers.
That's what I was thinking too.
It's going to be a similar event. It's going to be a race. It's going to be 4-man teams, and they're going to be doing different. Again, Kevin's hiding from me, but they're going to be doing. There's going to be shooting ranges. There's going to be like carries where they have to work as a team to carry each other, and different obstacles that a firefighter may do, or an officer may do. So it's kind of going to be a culmination of those different challenges that you see, like the Tough Mudders and the 5Ks, and it's kind of be a culmination of those. So, and we're already hearing word of mouth, because you guys are hearing it first. We have not announced this to anyone.
Oh, wonderful.
And we're putting together our logo and things like that. So, but word of mouth, we're getting people down in Columbus that have similar organizations to Local Blue are really excited about it, and what can we do, and how can we be a part of it, and they're really, really looking forward. And we're hoping it'll kind of spur them to do similar events, and who knows, maybe we can be that, like the master of the Safety Forces Endurance Challenge, and maybe we can host the statewide who's the champion of the safety forces. It's just the beginning, so we hope that this is an annual event, and it'll just get bigger and bigger every year. So we hope you can be involved in some way, and we'll keep you posted. And
it's all about becoming a destination.
I'm sorry?
It's all about becoming a destination.
For sure, for sure. So
Great.
Chris just starts with the chili teams alone. You got 20 or 25 chili teams there alone.
Exactly, and we met last week, and we just keep getting more and more excited the more meetings we have. So it's just the beginning. So
let's have some future dialogue about some kind of sponsorship, and
sure.
I'll bring some information to the board.
Great,
Okay?
and again, I'll provide all this information to you collectively in a nice, neat package, and hopefully we'll have a logo here shortly, and we'll be sending out a press release and all that here shortly. So.
And I won't be one of the carries, because I
No?
don't hurt anybody.
Oh. Well, thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you for coming
Appreciate
in and
it.
sharing that.
Great.
Have a good
Great.
one.
You too. Thanks. Did you?
Those are the kind of things we need in Lorain County to bring people
absolutely.
here.
That's
Great,
great.
yeah,
That'd
excited
be a
for
big
that.
event.
Okay. Anybody else? Mike, you just here to observe?
Mike is going to be talking after
Oh,
with,
okay.
on one or two issues I need him on.
Okay, well then I move that we go into executive session as outlined by both the county administrator and the assistant county prosecutor.
Second.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo?
All right.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.